Hey there, welcome to Coffee Break Plans. Today it's reading journal time. Now I have a lot to do today. I need to finish filling out this, I need to finish doing my list, I need to write all the reviews for each book that I read, and I need to set up for September and probably October. So let's crack on. The first thing I want to do is correct this. I never had any intention of reading the help, so I have no idea how or why I wrote it on there. First thing I'm going to do is stick a little bit of paper over that and get rid of it. Okay, with that corrected, I'm just going to highlight the rest of the books that I read this month, and I'm going to fill out my list. So with that done, now we can take a look at this list, and I smashed out my TBR this month. So what I'm going to do is a quick talk about each book. The book of the month is The Eyes of the Dragon by Stephen King. Now, I had a friend of mine who used to work many years ago at the baling station, which was the local rubbish dump. And anytime someone threw out a book that looked like it was in decent condition, he would extract it out of the waste flow and give it away to anyone who wanted it. So he knew I was a King fan, so he gave this one to me. So I've kept it all this time and decided to reread it. So it is a fairy tale. It's a dark fairy tale, as you'd expect, but then again, all fairy tales are dark. I've read it several times, so technically I'm not supposed to pick it for Book of the Month, but I don't care. I made the rules, so I can break them. This has great characters, a great story, and a great escape plan. So I'm making this my Book of the Month for August. Staying with Stephen King, this is another old one. This came out in 1989, I think. Now, my brother-in-law gave this to me back in the day when I must have been about 16 at the time. And he noticed that I was reading a lot of Stephen King, and this was a brand new release, so he bought this for me for Christmas. This is a super clever book. George Stark, the main villain, is just so brutal. It could be quite difficult to get through at times, but it is an excellent book. Great read. And the third Stephen King book I read this month was Never Flinch, which is his latest, and it features his latest great character, Holly Gibney. Now, the storyline is not one of his best, and he says it himself. His last two before this were absolutely fantastic tales, so it's okay to have a bit of a dud every now and again, and even a mediocre King read is still a great read, so I loved this. Switching authors now and onto the runner-up for the book of the month is Malibu Rising. I actually went onto Goodreads for some insane reason and had a look at the reviews for this, and it got slammed by quite a few people. But I really, really liked this. I loved the format. It just covers 24 hours of the siblings' lives in the present, but then it goes into the history of their parents meeting, etc., and the backstory. And this is atmosphere. Now, this little subtitle here, a love story, is really essential, and I think the people who are on Goodreads once again slamming this book probably didn't read this properly. I've read a fair bit about the American space program. I grew up being dragged out of bed at some ridiculous hour by my dad, who insisted that we watch every space shuttle launch and landing. And here in New Zealand, of course, that was at some ungodly hour like 2 a.m. in the morning. This book covers the astronaut training and missions, but that's not its main point. It is, as always with good books, about the people and the characters. And this love story subtitle is what it's about. It's not about the space program. It's just a love story set in the space program. I really enjoyed this. It was great. And the last of this author was Daisy Jones and the Six, and I know people rave about this book, and I've already read it, but when I first read it, I just wasn't too sure about it, but I really enjoyed it now as a reread. Sometimes a book just catches you in the wrong mood or at the wrong time, and it doesn't land well, but this second time through reading this, I really, really enjoyed it. Onto these long left out books on the list, which was sitting on my bedside table for quite some time. I read Grady Hendrix' Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. It wasn't quite what I expected, but I still really enjoyed it. I also read Stolen Focus. Sometimes with books like this, you have the answer in the first couple of chapters and everything else is just padding. And you think that when you read this, the answer is in the first couple of chapters, and you're like, okay, cool. But he rethinks and reassesses all the way through every time he picks up another piece of evidence. So I enjoyed that aspect of it, is that it didn't say the same thing over and over again. It actually continued to build on the evidence. And the final book is The Benefactors. I'd recently joined a little subscription service called the Bookity Book Books, and they send out a book every month, and all they send and all you have to pay for is the book. And I've been looking into these subscription services for a while and been really put off it because you end up getting the book and about another $100 worth of stuff that I don't want. I don't want a bracelet. I don't want a smelly candle. I just want the book. So onto the book. This is set in Ireland and it's about sexual assault, but fortunately it doesn't go into all the gory details. Everything resolves in an unexpected way and it was a satisfying end. Okay, with that done, I think we're now on to the setups. So I'm going to pop that aside for a moment and I'm just going to swatch out my colour schemes for September and October. And I've decided to go with this blue theme that I used up here for the overall list. And then I think November and December I will use this colour scheme and then that bookmarks the whole year. So I'm just going to swatch out some colours to see what matches and what goes. So I've picked a pink and a blue Tombow to go with those two. And these ones are really difficult to match with any of my Tombows. This one matches up okay. This one here is somewhat more problematic. And I looked at a neutral, but looks a bit meh. So I think I might just go back and use the pink, which is in here anyway. Those are the colours I've chosen. I'm now just going to do the setups. So I've had to use a white gel pen for these ones because otherwise you can't read them. It's, I don't love it, but it is what it is. And I went ahead and set up November and December anyway because I will have so many setups to do towards the end of the year that it's probably better to get it all done now, and then that leaves me with time to do other stuff come November. So with this done, all I have to do now is put in my to be read list for September. So that's it. That is my spread for August 2025, and I'm all set up ready to go for September, which I will tidy up as I go. Thanks for watching and have a great week. I'll see you next week.